Pixar have made a huge name for themselves. They have brought us incredible thought-provoking movies and a few, let's say, not so great ones. Throughout my series review of all the Pixar movies, I tried to break down what makes each one of these films tick. Why were they successful or why they weren't? But after watching The Good Dinosaur in preparation for this review, I came to a strong conclusion about this film. Pixar set huge standards for themselves and we love them for it. They bring us thought-provoking stories and very mature themes, but The Good Dinosaur is one of the hardest movies to review. Hello, it's me again, the average critic, and let's talk about The Good Dinosaur, Pixar's unpolished gem. Also, if you haven't guessed, just in case, spoiler alert for The Good Dinosaur. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I strongly feel that Pixar films, they're not made for kids. The themes and the stories in a lot of their movies are so mature and they bring not just great animated movies, but some of the best movies ever. And The Good Dinosaur had to follow after Inside Out, which blew audiences and critics away with its mature story, great themes, and if you've seen my last video, you know that I think that that film is one of the best movies ever created. But The Good Dinosaur was a box office bomb, swapping writers, directors, and the cast in the process. It only grossed $330.2 million on a $200 million budget. It certainly wasn't a smooth ride. But despite a few negative reviews, and yes, the film not being perfect, there is something I adore about this movie. Let's start with easily one of the great aspects of this movie, which is the soundtrack. The music composed by Michael and Jeff Danner, which replaced Tom Newman as the composers of the picture, write, in my opinion, an incredible soundtrack. The music captures the feel of the film, as its story and style is a huge homage to Western movies. The film really utilizes visual storytelling, and the music reflects a lot of it. I personally love it when films just allow their pictures to be shown with no dialogue and music, creating very thought-provoking moments. This is a film where you can sit back, relax, and enjoy it. Just listening to the score on its own is interesting enough, as listening to the score you can clearly see that this film was made to be better than it was. The score is of the highest standard, and for this film to be scored less because of its just okay story, but considering how it tells its story with its music, I found the score to be one of the best ever. A score is made to reflect the feel of the movie, and the score does it in spades. There may be problems with this movie, but the score sure as hell ain't one of them. Let's talk about what some people did agree on, which was some of the animation. Now, the world's animation is breathtaking, so much that the animators did have to explain that yes, the world was animated and it is not real-life moving pictures. In a world as beautiful as this, and mixing in the Western genre, it creates some of the most superb looking shots I've ever seen in a movie. The water looks incredible, the sunset feels like I could reach out and touch it, and once again it all adds to the visual storytelling in this film. The film uses its visual setting as a storytelling device, as even the animators wanted to use an environment as an antagonist for Arlo to overcome. Its themes of the world being a scary place, as Papa said, sometimes you gotta get through your fear to see the beauty on the other side. That quote represents, in my opinion, the false negative feedback this film has, which is that the animation of the characters didn't match the realism of the world. Now, do the characters match the animation of the world perfectly? No, but this allows the characters to be much more expressive and give off more personality. I do think Arlo is probably the weakest design, which is a shame because he is our lead character. But you could never say the characters are boring, because yes, they may not match perfectly as we would like, but the design allows for some great character expressions. I mean, the Lion King remake looks stunning, but the characters look dull and boring because they look so realistic. I think we can all agree we would rather have expressive characters we can relate to than dull characters that don't express any emotions. So yes, I do believe some people really overlooked this movie to not see the beauty on the other side. The story of The Good Dinosaur is an interesting one. I remember watching the teaser trailer for this movie, and when it first got released, I remember thinking how interesting of an idea of dinosaurs not becoming extinct. Does this film develop more into that subject? Not really, but it works well enough. Could all the characters just be other animals and it would still work? Absolutely. But I love dinosaurs, so I'm gonna be biased and say I love it. But you have to remember this film came out directly after Inside Out, which got Pixar out of the ditch after films like Cars 2 and Brave. Audiences and critics were wondering if Pixar was starting to lose their flair in producing great movies. Now, The Good Dinosaur story may not be as thought-provoking as Inside Out, or as emotional as Up, but it delivers a sweet story with strong enough characters. Its story is quite simple, and you could probably guess where the story goes when watching it, but that doesn't stop the fact that the characters have strong motivations and great personalities. I spoke in the past about a lot of Pixar movies being very much for the adults, and The Good Dinosaur, in my opinion, breaks that mold a little bit for one reason. Now, this film does have a lot of mature themes and story decisions that could leave kids quite scarred for life. But with films like Inside Out, Up and Ratatouille, which in my opinion are very mature because you tend to follow characters who are particularly older, even Inside Out's characters Joy and Sadness, despite being technically the same age as Riley, they feel more mature and act more like adults in my opinion. That's what makes them more catered towards older audiences. The Good Dinosaur, Arlo is a young boy. Spot is obviously a young kid, and they learn things that all kids need to learn about being scared, overcoming fear, and learning to live with it. I think this film is way more catered towards kids. If you're like me and you have older siblings, you're going to love this film a lot more, as Arlo is trying to compete with his siblings because he's different and younger, as he proves himself to make his mark. I think we as an audience got so used to seeing Pixar as a very adult, mature themed animation company that we forget to say it's okay to make a film for kids to enjoy. Now, there are some hilarious moments that will go over kids' moments. I think this pretty much springs to mind. So adults are going to enjoy this film just as much as the kids, and of course the themes and messages are all very strong. And it also gave us an incredible emotional scene with, again, not much dialogue as Spot and Arlo tell their stories. But I feel this film is made to be looked at from a kid's perspective. The story, the characters, and the adventure the characters go on is a coming-of-age story. A story for kids to learn the harshness of the world, as well as the beauty of it. I feel the expectations for this movie were so high and it just fell flat. But if you sit back and let the film be its own movie, you will see the beauty of The Good Dinosaur that I see. It's not perfect, and I feel depending on what you want from a Pixar movie, your age, your gender, so many things will come into play as to why you think this film is as good as it is or as bad as it is. The animation is stunning. The music alone just shows the high standard this film got into making and considering how many times it changed directors and scriptwriters. To get the film we got, I think it's brilliant. There is an innocence to this movie whereby they didn't want to tell a groundbreaking idea that makes you question life and society. They told a really sweet story with some great characters. I kind of think that if this film was just a basic cartoon on Cartoon Network, it would probably get a bit more recognition. But because it's by Pixar, maybe we just expected more. So after all that, it gets my personal rating of 7 out of 10. And it gets my personal rating of 8 out of 10. I think if you have siblings, or if you're a little bit younger, or maybe if you're like me and you're just a little bit immature, you will love this movie a lot more than the average person. So thank you very much for joining me in this video. This is one of my personal favorite movies. I really enjoyed doing this video and I love it. Please tune in next week when we will be talking about Finding Dory. But next time we're talking about Finding Dory. Sorry, I suffer from short-term memory loss. I hope you don't mind. But thank you for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss next week's video. Tell me in the comment section below if you think The Good Dinosaur is all that bad, or if you think like me that it's pretty darn awesome. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.